All right, I get a couple of emails a month like this one, like this guy here. He's not a happy guy. And sometimes I swear Oscar the Grouch is writing me. Oscar, how can you type and live in a garbage can at the same time? Don't know. Anyway, this came from, of course it's not signed, but it looks like it's from a guy named Mark. It says, Terry, you are a shill when it comes to the Brown. You have a history of praising the front office moves only to look foolish as the season progresses. You have no credibility when you refuse to name your sources while becoming one of the biggest Sashi Brown apologists in the media. A couple of things. I mean, you could say a few of that stuff, but by the way, who really names their sources? I mean, let's be obvious. Look around. Adam Schefter, who I think is terrific, but, you know, all of us, hey, there was a rumor the other day. Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network said, the Browns are interested in Mike Mularkey. Did he say hue-jackson said he was interested in Mike Mularkey? No, he said the Browns are. I'm sure it's right. I say those things all the time. The fact of naming sources is just what you want to make sure is when you go with your story, you're right. So, you know, you can say I'm a shill or whatever, but that part is sort of silly. He goes on. He goes, your columns just regurgitate stories written by much better columnists hours before you enlighten us. Then you add your own insignificant opinion, and those opinions could barely provoke a stadium vendor. By the way, I don't want to get a stadium vendor mad. I really don't. While I'm having some fun with this. Truthfully, that guy's out there working, selling beer, selling popcorn or whatever. It's a tough way to go. He says, you would be much more respected if you tried to seem as angry, he actually used some other fans, as we fans are at Jimmy Haslam and what he's done to his team. He admits, yes, Pluto would solve nothing, but at least it would make you more respected and relatable to the average fan. Basically, he says, I walk on eggshells and I'm sort of sheepish. All right, I'm going to actually, I've had some fun with that. I'm going to get serious here for a couple minutes. Number one is, in real life, I don't yell, scream, and rant. I just don't. By the way, I grew up in a household where yelling was the common way of communication. It was not fun. You know what I learned from watching different family members scream at each other? No one hears a thing. I also understand that we live in the age of rage. The media is just people screaming at each other. I grew up reading Hal Lebowitz, Chuck Heaton, Bob August, Bert Grafe, Dan Coughlin. Those are all kind of local guys. None of them were screamers and name callers. On a national thing, when I was a young baseball writer, one of my mentors was Peter Gammons, Boston Globe, Sports Illustrated. I'm going to even take it another level deeper. I get upset when things go wrong with the team or whatever, but it's not life and death. I've spent probably the last 4 weeks during this holiday season. There's a lady, her name is Melva Hardison. She's 91 years old, and she is like my mother. My mother, Mary, died many years ago. In fact, it's funny, Melva once said to me, this is about year 2000, and she says, whatever happened to your mama? And I said, well, Melva, she died a long time. She goes, you don't have a mama? I said, no. She goes, I'll be your mama. I said, well, fine. I just got claimed on waivers. You know, you're glad about that. Well, Melva is very close to her daughter, Gloria, as part of our prison ministry team. And she is like my mother. And my wife and I are her medical power of attorneys and everything else. Well, Melva had a heart attack over the holidays. And hospitals, rehab centers, home health care, just got her home. She's bouncing back strong. She's amazing. Grew up in a sharecropper's farm in Alabama. I mean, this woman has flavor. That's life and death stuff. In fact, the one time I sort of pretty much yelled was at somebody in one of the hospitals because I was kind of fighting for her. Now, I'm sure most of us here of a certain age could go back in our life and look at parents we lost or children we lost or medical battles we faced. That's the stuff that really matters. I want the Browns to do well. It's more fun when they do well. But the fact that Jimmy Haslam had a really rough run as an owner, sure, I'll criticize it or whatever, but I'm sorry, you know, it's not about being sheepish, walking on eggshells. I mean, I just don't go through life like him. I don't. Life's too hard as it is. I don't want to make it any harder.